everything gets connected. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Welcome everybody to the live and the replay. This is our third show today. I think today is Divine Feminine Goddess Day because we've had 3 beautiful beloved sisters come on. This is the third one that I never knew, that I haven't met, which isn't out of the ordinary. In typical soulogy style, we're going to get to know Shalom and in the moment in front of our brothers and sisters. So we're going to finish this show in about an hour, and about 30 minutes to an hour. And I'm going to put up a little post. After this show's over, we are going to unveil the Soulogy Network website. Thank the gods and the goddesses. After 9 years, this is going to be it's a really powerful and extraordinary day. So I would invite you all to come from this show to that show. It won't be too long after it, like 30 minutes to an hour later. I'm going to put on our little intro for 1 minute and 19 seconds so we can allow people time to come in, and we'll be right back. Wow, what a powerful, powerful day it is, man. The hair on the back of my neck is standing up. And it's a pleasure to have Shalom. I am light. I am light. That's her name. I thought it was Lamlight. And then I went to go search for her on Facebook and I couldn't find her. And then I realized it was I Am Light, which is a really cool. That's a really cool name. I like that. So we're welcoming our beautiful beloved sister here. We're going to get to know her. Introduce her to the Soulogy community, expand awareness of what she is and what she's doing. Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming in and sharing space with us. Thank you for honoring us with your presence on this glorious day, which is, I'm a little excited, as you can tell, because we're going to unveil our website after this show. So welcome. So how long have you been like that?
Thank you so much.
Yes. We have a little bit of a lag. We have a little bit of a lag, everybody. So it'll be all right. I wasn't interrupting her on purpose. So we'll get the hang of it here in a minute once we have a few back and forth. So no, seriously, have you always been like this? Have you always been strange and weird and everybody thought you were crazy? Or did you have a wake-up experience like so many of us?
Yes, I have always been weird, but I didn't understand myself. I came from a family with 2 weird parents. My parents were weird. To me, they were like heroic. I can sense their weird, but it was disguised in. So I've always known myself to be different, but I've never loved myself for being different. So who see now is a result of my birth name is Shalom, Thomas, and my description is peace, I am light. Typically go by, but born Shalomar, I'm finally learning to love my weirdness.
Yeah.
So I might seem just all out there at this point in my life.
Perfect. Perfect. Everybody's stepping up now. It's exciting because more and more divine feminine energy is stepping up in all of us. The part of it that's been suppressed. When you say your name, when you said it like that, it reminded me, and I love her to death, India Airy. That song, I Am Light.
Yes.
I am light. I
Yes.
am light. Yeah. Yeah. You have that energy. Very cool. And so you grew up in Chicago. I lived in Chicago for a bit. I love Chicago. I was single when I lived in Chicago, and I was happy to get out of there because I don't think I'd ever come out of it alive. That place is like a big playground. But that's a lot of energy too in Chicago. Did you were you nurturing your abilities and your skills and your awareness while you were living and growing up in Chicago?
No.
Uh-oh.
That I was an empath in a city that was full of electricity and energy from other people.
Yeah.
Very hard time with my powers because I didn't know what they were. Yeah, it was tough to say the least. Growing up in that type of environment was very tough because I was feeling feelings that I didn't understand. I felt everyone's energy around me and didn't understand that this was my superpower. I felt that it was myself going cuckoo puffs. That's why I felt weird and strange and fit in and couldn't understand. Weird.
Wow.
So it wasn't easy, but
so
once I learned.
Yeah. Now, how did you break out? How did you start to step into your power and, start that journey of raising the bar as far as self-love and self-respect and reverence for self?
2 years ago. I'm 41 years old, and I had to go through a long journey to teach me self-love. I've been in a lot of different, I was in the military. I come from a very large family. I was a Christian. I lived my life as a Christian, and I was very life as a Christian. So I went through a long journey to bring to myself. A lot of people, they figure this out kind of early in their life, but that self-love, it took me a while.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
It took me a while. So it was about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When I found it.
Yes. I don't think that you're the odd one out when it comes to figuring it out late. Yeah. Because there's a lot of common characteristics in the Soulgy community. And I know there's a lot of Soulgies around the world. But it's, knowing that you had something going on as a younger person, not being able to expand that because it was suppressed, and then waking up or reawakening and going through a lot of things that we all shared, which is being called crazy, number one, being estranged from some family and friends, and then really digging in the shadows and finding out what we're not to find out who we are and turning that empath ability from a weakness to a strength. Does that resonate with you?
Absolutely. 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 Yeah. I practice my power, and I have 5. I have 5 children. So that's the universe. Times the test per se, or the opportunity to practice my ability with my children. And they absolutely teach me so much about myself. And when I'm spot on about something that's going on in their life without them really, they tell me, yeah, mom. So when I know when I have to deal with other people, because I just started offering counseling sessions, intuitive readings, energies for people, it helps me understand that my abilities are spot on. And most of the people that I've serviced since I began to step in that part of myself, and their lives are changing, and that's the purpose, that we walk each other home, but my children help walk me home.
True that. And these children are starting to make more and more of an impact on the earth. You have one thing so far that I've kind of picked up on that is unique. Most, all of us, I'd say probably 99% of us, didn't have that, didn't have the parents like you did, in terms of, at least it sounds like they were open and a little bit weird themselves, is what you said, in a good way. My wife often says, she's a practitioner, and she often says, your father is Father God and your mother's Mother Universe. And this is where we pick up our programming. So most of us out here have had at least estranged, periods from our parents, and some still continue to this day. How have your parents responded to your evolution as you moved out of Christianity into the woo-woo? How have they responded? Have they been supportive? I mean, have they come in for a session?
My parents are long transitioned.
Okay.
They have long transitioned. My father passed away when I was 18. Wow. In my life directly, he was indirectly effective in my life. Yeah. I could count on all 10 fingers. I remember seeing him. Both of my parents suffered from really, really bad addictions.
Okay.
Because to handle, they didn't know how to process what the soul cry was and within them, because of our circumstances of life. So they didn't awaken to their full God self. They were still victims of their own choices, and there was the drug addiction. So very detached.
Yeah.
So she didn't nurture me like mom would do her daughter. Right. But in this point of my life, because I have reconciled the hurt, and I realized, the purpose of them being my parents. They weren't nurturing. My father wasn't around because they were both with their own struggles. Then I had to learn to be strong growing up. I had to learn that self-love. That's where all that self-love comes in, because I didn't feel like I received that. Although they showed me in a way that was unique, because they didn't know how to show me love, because their parents weren't able to them to show them. It's a product of the African American slavery years, where they had to work, and they didn't have the time to love you and nurture you, because they were in fear. They were in that fear mode of being killed or being beaten, providing. So that generational trauma, I had to learn to dismantle within myself, so that I can free family line. And that's what we really all have come here for.
Yes, I agree with that.
Break the curse.
No doubt about it. I mean, we're healing all timelines, all dimensions, all ancestral lineage. There's no doubt about it. Now, I told you I grew up in the area that you're living at now, at least from the sixth grade through, through high school. And I lived in a neighborhood that was in between the subdivision neighborhood, I guess, which was mostly white. But in between there was an old sharecropper development, and a lot of my friends were African American, and we played a lot of ball together and a lot of other stuff. But one of the things that I noticed is when I would go to the churches with them, the few times I went, there was an electricity in the air. I'd never been exposed to that. I mean, it was I was raised Catholic originally, and you go in and it's like walking into a funeral. Everybody's quiet. You go into an African American Baptist church, and it's you got to peel people off the ceiling. It's exciting. It's it's just there's so much fervor. And on the same token, I'm a big, I love the blues, the old blues, Mississippi Delta. I've read a lot of the history of it. I understand it, in terms of, from an observer standpoint, what all that was, not just the religion, but also the music. There was something about the way that excitement, the way they brought it together. Did you bring that to the party with you in this evolution that you're having and in the work you do?
I absolutely have. I was an evangelist, minister of music in the church. I sang to just love God. I sang because I love the representation of love. I love the representation of truth within that. And some of the other things that went on in the Christian church, in the Baptist church, Protestant movement, didn't Christ, Jesus Christ, and God in their fullness, because it's they list the institution and it's at this point. Yeah. So, but yes, I'm bringing that to the movement. I bring my love of God, my love of gratitude, and that He showed to all of those people who followed Him in His time on this planet, through His love and His compassion and His direct institutions of religion and government. So, yes, I'll bring that to the party.
Right on. And you're also bringing music. So can you do a little India Airy, I Am Light?
I can some Shalom, I Am Light.
There you go.
I like to sing my own.
Absolutely. I was just trying to,
because it's an expression.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great.
I actually wrote a song.
Go ahead.
That I'm working with a close family member with, and it's just, I want freedom. And, we're not seeking freedom from anything out of ourselves. We're really seeking the freedom to express who we are. And we're going to start recording that soon. I'm excited about that.
Very cool. How about, I'm just curious, how about light language? Has that been something that's come in on your journey?
Well, I've been told that the ability to speak in a language that you don't understand is speaking in tongues. And I was raised in a church who spoke other tongues. And when I was about 22 years old, I was looking for another woman in our church, and I really honestly, truly in love praying for her. And when I prayed for her, another language began to come out of my that I did not understand what I was saying. The Bible speaks of it as tongues of cloven fire. And that's a light language.
Yeah.
That is a light language.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand what it is, but that is language. So yes, I have experienced that.
Yeah. I figured because you know, the what is it, the Pentecostal, Baptist, I've seen it, charismatic Christian or charismatic Catholic, I've seen them do it. I have a feeling it's been around since day one, you know, when you really get down to it. Yeah, it's but there, I remember, I don't know, there's just a power, you know, if I go back to, you know, when I was a teenager and the time I was telling you about, this power of that I was exposed to in the African American families, my friends' families, the mother. The mother was such a force, like literally, like you did not like you could cross. Some of the fathers were a little bit tough, but it was the mothers you had to worry about. Like and I mean that in a good way because they had huge influence. They had a huge influence. Yeah, yeah. They'd feed you and beat you, but and I remember when I started my journey, and I remember the night the day it happened, and I hadn't been on Facebook at all. I had started a Facebook. I had about maybe 200 friends from high school, and I hadn't been given the name Soulogy. And I walked up to the computer. It was the last thing I did before I left. I put, I'm about to walk out into this extraordinary universe with no job, no home, no family, no nothing, and I'm going to go for it. And this lady from that neighborhood, who is now my age, 50, you know, at the time, and I hadn't talked to this woman, and she's married to a preacher, you know, a guy that I went to school with, and she sent me a message on Messenger, and I think it was one of my first, I would say, dimensional, non-physical experiences with another person. And she sent me a message and said, I don't know why I'm writing you, Todd. I'm just sitting here crying and I'm praying for you. And man, it hit my heart and it filled me up. And it reminded me of when I was in those teenage years, when I was interacting, you know, with those families and the power of the Black mother, man. I mean, it's a huge force. And now that the goddess is fully entrenched and anchored and expanding onto the earth, which is affecting all of us because she lives in all of us. It must be an exciting thing for you to see that force, the mother goddess force, taking hold and making her, you know, her presence, you know, known to all of us. Do you see that happening?
Oh, yes. 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 I see it in the African American community. Little thing, because a lot of my African American family members, friends, you can get stuck in being a victim. You can get stuck in being a victim. A victim. And a lot of them would hold on to a slavery victimhood or victimhood, impoverished community victimhood, the dad being a part of the kids' lives victimhood, or the Black men cheating victimhood. And I'm seeing so many of my sisters step into power, take responsibility for their own life and their own choices, and then leaving others that they wish to do in their lives, as long as it doesn't imbalance to my life.
Right.
And I'm seeing that more and more often. It's such a beautiful thing. I'm seeing more sisters of light joining forces with us because this is the time for us to together. You know, you're not my enemy, not you. We are one in this journey, from our Caucasian sisters to us, helping us be, you know, uplift ourselves and showing us, hey, that we your struggle. We understand what you've gone through. You are so much more important. And I'm seeing that happen more and more within the, we are becoming united, you know, hundreds of years of separation. And it's because we've gone within ourselves and said, you know what, how can we fix the problems in our, can we fix the problems in our families? How can we fix the problems in ourselves? We started to look within, and that's the key to raising the vibration of the planet and to repairing families and communities and repairing our world, is to look within ourselves.
Yeah.
And we're doing that.
It's the same recipe for everyone, isn't it? I mean, if you look at the realm that we helped create and came to learn in and expand, everybody's been a victim, you know. Everybody's been a victim. I remember the universe telling me early on when I was working that out that consequences and circumstances are one and the same thing. It's just a matter of where you're at and where you're going. There's so many incredible transformational stories and experiences that are that people like you are starting to share, and it's like a contagious epidemic type of positive virus. I mean, it's soul lights soul up, you know, and then again you have these kids, and we have a question from one of our core soulogy people, Allison out of New York. She says, because you've got 5 kids, I've got 6 that have been teaching me, and that gives you a pretty good variety, right? So she asked, are your kids exhibiting aspects of the new human? Do you see something different in your children than what you might have seen and experienced when you were a child?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, we understand that we all come here with and the blueprint I was born in was the victim. We were in the victim system. We were not in the system of empowerment and self-love. As we transitioned from the times that we saw what we lacked in openness, fairness, honesty, love, because our parents were busy surviving.
Yeah.
And to our children. So my children are free. My children are free. They came through, you know, my world to experience a certain, express to me a certain level of freedom that at one point I was not willing to allow to have. Yeah. Because moms were like, no, you can't do this. Don't do that. You're going to get hurt. You know, watch what, you know, we were raised like. So when my daughters were coming up, I was afraid of some characteristics in them because it was in direct opposition to something that I had yet healed within myself. So they've already come with the freedom blueprint. They already come with the entrepreneur spirit. You know, they don't like doing things unless they don't like being told what to do. You know, and as a mom, I grew up in a family that you do what you're told. And my children don't. They don't have that blueprint of subservience. They have that warrior of a sovereign being.
Yeah, that's very true. I think of my 2 youngest ones, and they did not do well with the "do as I say, not as I do" mantra. You know, they did question and they did ask a lot of things, and I picked up a lot of things from them and expanded as a result. Yeah, I mean, these kids are flipping this thing upside down as the days go by. You know, you can see it even in the teenagers. But these young kids, I mean, they're amazing. Some of the kids that we have either had on the show or talked to their parents. You know, everything from, you know, they're telling their parents what they did on another planet, what their job is. what they look like on another planet, and different things. We had one kid come on here talking about the two Earths and how they were splitting. There was a divide. I mean, it's amazing what these kids are pulling in, and more important than that, it's amazing the frequency that they're carrying, which is expanding regardless of whatever's been intended to work against them. So that's exciting. Now, I saw that you have the raw material behind you, and I just get the impression that that's an important part of your field, your essence. When did you discover that? Was it all through reading and research, or have you connected to it in the ethers?
Who I've connected to in the ether is Jesus. Jesus is a spirit guide of mine that has worked closely with me since I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
Since I was 4 years old, I just had this infinity about Jesus. He's always been there. So he's been my spirit guide when I was younger. As I began to expand my awareness about other things, I came across some readings, and raw material was one of them. And I haven't finished. What I have read has indeed expanded my awareness. And at this point in my journey, I'm able to tap in to different energies. And raw material is, oh my gosh, it blew the lid wide open for me, because that Egyptology was satanic and occultic, and it was not a godly practice. So this really opened up my eyes about that. And I learned a lot through reading. I learned a lot of life experiences. So, and then at that point, then they right in, because I've opened myself up to learn about it. They come to me, just abruptly through guided material, things that I've seen, and that's how they interact. Spirits and my guides interact with me, my new spirits and guides.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, I get that about the Egyptian, anything that was outside of the fundamental Western religion constructs, how it was viewed. But at the same time, there's been this, of course, with the indigenous, for sure, in this country, and of course around the world. But again, going back to the particularly the African American cultural imprint. And again, like I said, I love the old blues, so I've studied a lot of that, the plantation life and all that. And so in that research, I guess if that's what you want to call it, I've read about and listened to stories, from that region in particular, Mississippi Delta, where they talk about everything, and we're talking about the family here. We're talking about the same fervent Southern Christian African American community, right? And the stories would be about shapeshifters. The stories would be about magic, voodoo, santeria, all different things. So those components never seem to be too far away. What I would say are like the oral traditions and oral ritual, or the rituals handed down generation after generation. Many things that I've come across too is where they're in particular with the feminine side of the family, where they would have a lineage of, my grandmother was a seer. They have this in their DNA, I guess, and that never seemed to, at least from my opinion, never seemed to have gotten far away from their makeup. I mean, has that been an influence on you? Have you been exposed to any of that?
Much, not, I would say not in the traditional sense of Southern magic. The magic that I experienced in my childhood more esoteric in the sense when you consider the power of the mind, and mostly we are connected to the spirit realm without having to do potions and different works of divination on the power of the mind, wisdom. And they had things like olive oil. They would have different oils and stuff like that would help us. But mostly in my upbringing, I was exposed to the mind, the power.
Yeah. Or castor oil. I don't think that was a magical potion, though. It could be. So, and now I know you
we use
have
it for our hair.
Well, my friends used to what do they do? Take, was it 3 spoonfuls a day? I met a lady and I became friends with them. She must have been about 90. Her son lived with her and he was about 70. And they looked about 25 years younger, and they swore it was castor oil every day, Now, I know you have a pretty strong online presence. I know you're a practitioner. What type of stuff are you into? Do you work with individuals? Do you work with groups? What kind of stuff are you doing?
I do individual counselings for people, individual energy reading. I do provide a lot of the free content, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I also just started a YouTube channel, and to do some teachings to understand the differences in being spiritual and in a religion, and show their similarities. So so the people aren't afraid of to step into the unknown. So I've just been providing a lot of free content to help people understand themselves, as the spiritual community, as it applies to the religious community, and understand what's going on in our world right now, and when it's in regard, the coronavirus and the presidential election here in the United States. So I really have my hands in a lot because I love everything.
Right on. And of course, in this multi-dimensional, multifaceted transition we call ascension, as talking to so many people on the show, over 2,400 shows, that there are a lot of faces of the universe that communicate with us and guide us. I guess ultimately everything's one, and it all goes back to one. I guess oversoul or God, goddess, however you want to refer to that. Have you had? I mean, you mentioned Ra, which has a galactic flavor to it. Have you had any experiences dimensionally or not in terms of the galactic, the star family, that type of thing?
Yes, I have. I have had. I've been, and it's so beautiful because the things that I remember from resonating with me as a child, they're coming back to me. Had a trance state about a year and a half ago. I was in a trance state, and my spirit guide, 2 years ago. This was actually before I went through a really, really tough soul all over, and I was beautiful places. I had to go through an asteroid belt, and I had to realize in my dream that I was not in danger of being destroyed by this asteroids, and I was move my body through the asteroids as they were coming. And the words that I heard in this particular contact was Samaria and Tiamat.
Wow.
And Spirit has just taken me on a journey of uncovering him. And part of that journey that I was affiliated with the planet of Tiamat, once destroyed. Hence the asteroid belt I would constantly come in contact with. And then I always had dreams about dragons. I had dreams about dragons, and I would always go in. That took me to Maldek. I am a draconian. I came from the Draco, and I am a dragon.
Right on.
I am a dragon from the planet Maldek. They were destroyed, and once I took some shrooms.
Try that in the Baptist church.
I took some shrooms, and in this experience I was doing fire in this experience. And I had another experience where I seen a dragon. Something angered me, and I was, of course, telepathically communicating with my dragon. But instead of me lighting fire to whatever it was that upset me, it created a heart of fire in the sky. So I'm a really closely associated with the dragons.
Yeah, that's very cool. I love dragons. My wife and I have had many experiences with dragons. There was a period of I want to say about 18 months where we were visited by many, many different dragon consciousnesses. And I look at this stuff because I have a curious mind, and I'm going to ask you, like, what's your take on it? There's no right or wrong answer. I'm just trying to grow, trying to pick up code. But like the dragon interactions, like I know a lot of this stuff that we encounter, at least from my own perspective, is a part of me that's reawakening, right? Or the code's being opened up. The dragons in particular seem to be a very intense, specific, like a red dragon came in to talk about this, a green dragon comes to talk about that. Very specific, very potent, we're not going to mess around type of thing. Do you feel like these encounters, or the dragon part of you, is a part of you that's been reawakened, or that's something outside of yourself that's come to teach you something?
This is something person in my family. Ever since I was a little girl, I was always the child for others. I would say most of the fights that I had when I was growing up, I was fighting for else, either a friend that was getting picked on or my sister who was getting picked on. So the fire I can remember, I've always had that fire of righteousness within me. My mom was in some pretty tough relationships, and she was abused in some of them. So I was very fiery as far as to protect my family. I always wanted to protect around me. It's just the awakening of that.
Yeah, that resonates. How about, do you ever get any interaction or any experiences with the elemental kingdom? I guess the dragons are part of that, but I mean, like fairies, Sasquatch, nature beings, trees, that type of thing.
I've never seen a fairy, but I know my one. She saw plenty of the little ones. She would tell me about it. Yeah, she saw the little people. Me, I haven't. I go and I meditate outside, but the dragonflies and the animals, they do come to me. They rest on me as I meditate. The dragons, the ants, they don't bite me. The animals come to me. I had a cat. We had a cat just months ago, but it had the eye of Horus, the third eye, the eye of Haru, of the side of her. And she came and lived with us for a couple of months before she left. We took care of her.
Wow. Wow. She probably dropped some wisdom. That's for sure. Cats are mysterious. Cats are very connected. Yeah. So in like where are you headed with this? I know you just moved to where you're at in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It sounds like and feels like you're expanding, and you just stepped out onto YouTube. What's in store for you? Where are you headed?
I really can't say for absolutely, but I do have a vision, and that I know that that's my highest timeline. And I'm just at this junction, not a universe to pick my life for me. The universe knows what I like, but I'm trying to be with it and allow myself to move as the universe moves, and to not be disappointed if something happens the way that I didn't plan it out. I'm trying to be more flexible in that regard. But what I love doing, I love helping people. Yeah. I love sharing truth with people. I love sharing love with people and knowledge with people. And wherever that cry of my soul takes me, then I'm willing to go. I'm doing some writing books, making music, sharing content and stuff like that. But I don't want to get comfortable where spirit will want to take where else. And I'm like, well, what about all the stuff that I've done? If it's meant to be, it'll be. I'll just move out of place of inspiration, a place of love. And if I follow that frequency and honor myself and love myself and just march to the beat of my drum, march to the beat that the soul is pulling me, the direction that my soul is pulling me, I'll end up where I was destined anyway.
There you go. Let go or be dragged, right? So I want before we get out of here, I want to make sure that you have the floor, and certainly let us know, how we can find you, where we can find you, maybe what you do, and if there's anything you want to do, while we're here, if you're a blessing, a light language, you want to sing a song, or you have something that a message that you want to get out or anything like that, the floor is yours, and to do with as you wish.
Oh, thank you. Well, since for me to sing a song, I'll sing a part of a song that I wrote during my dark night of the soul, when I took my mind. I didn't know if I was going or coming. I didn't up from my down. I just had no idea. I was in suspension. But Spirit came to me and said, you got to keep believing. The one thing that I've done my whole life, and that has not failed me yet, is to believe in the absolute best. That no matter where we are, no matter what we're going through, the best is always behind the struggle. And you just got to believe and go through. So it's like you got to believe. There comes a time when everything that flows within will make its way into reality. Then see that it was you. It was you. Oh, did it sleep?
You broke the internet. Can you still hear me? That was beautiful. What we could hear of it. Next time we get her on, I'll make sure to have a little tech chat with her and get her to get an Ethernet cord and see if we can improve the connection. A beautiful, beautiful sister. We've had 3 beautiful, beloved sisters on today. I am going to take a little break, and I would say probably in about an hour, we'll come back on and put together a little show, and I'll share the screen with you, and we'll go on to the Soulogy Network website. So I'll be back, and thank you, beloved sister, wherever you went. We'll see you again.